Welcome everybody to today's episode of the Killeleagh Show. I have my little helper here with me today. Today's episode was actually filmed almost a month ago, as it was intended to air at the beginning of May, which May, as you may or may not know, is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so this beautiful young woman actually took some of her own mental health struggles as an opportunity to dig deep, get clear on her dreams, and bring those dreams to reality. You can find her in Auburn, New York, so stay tuned, listen to the episode. I hope you get inspired. And as we continue to roll out some of the interviews that I've been recording over recent weeks, you'll see a shift in our message to things like resilience and justice, as I move from simply aligning myself with people who live their lives with passion and purpose and beginning to explore people who are truly committed to values-driven living and building businesses that are values-driven as well. And so this past month, I have been focused on my value, which is on putting the things that matter most to me at the forefront, like this little guy. So Jack, you want to say hi to everyone?
Hi.
And so you'll see these episodes come out now, but we took some time for some radical self-care and are looking forward to sharing with you the results. All right, say bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
If you watch this episode and you or anyone you know is experiencing any kind of mental health distress, given the fact that we have been experiencing the reality of a global pandemic and isolation and recent events unfolding that are tragic, there's a number at the end of the episode. And if you are not in the state of New York, please reach out to me if you can't find your own resources quickly, because I am here for you. And I take this time to also use this platform to remind you that in this moment in history, if we truly want to be part of a country that lives out the values of freedom and liberty and justice for all, then the answer is black and white. Black lives matter. And the response from so many in our community that all lives matter is simply inappropriate, because until Black lives matter, all lives can't. Let that sink in. And if you want to have a conversation about this, one that is caring and compassionate and rooted in fact, please reach out to me, because I would love to talk to you. I believe that the only way that we truly can move forward is by building bridges and by sharing our stories. So thank you, and please enjoy this episode. I have with me today a special guest that I can't wait to share with you. This is Luciana Torous, and she owns 3 Leaf in Auburn, New York. And one of the reasons why I really wanted to have her on the show is not only is she someone who is living her life with passion and purpose in the way that she has built this business, but also because, Luciana, I think you have such a beautiful story. And so I would love to just jump right in, have you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about how 3 Leaf got started for you. And being a young, wise, amazing women entrepreneur. So.
Thanks. Well, I'm Luciana. I've owned 3 Leaf Tea for 5 years now. I started working at a Mexican restaurant as a manager, and there was a point in my life that I was struggling a lot with mental health, specifically my anxiety and OCD, and I came to this point that I just wanted to do something to help myself. And I was like looking for all these, different things. I was trying, meditation and altering my diet and things like that, but nothing really stuck. The one thing that did stick was getting into tea. I just really slowed down and appreciated the whole tea ceremony and the sights, the sounds, the smells. Like during the time that I was drinking tea, I wasn't thinking about anything else. And it was really magical. And at that same time, my friend, she was a foreign exchange student in Japan who's currently living there now. She's been there for, I believe, 8 years now. But she heard that I got into tea, and she brought me over some matcha, since matcha is a Japanese green tea. And I fell in love with it like immediately. And if anyone knows me, when I start something, I go hard. I get into it. And I just wanted to share the feeling with other people. So that's when I came up with the idea to start Three Leaf Tea. And I launched online in January of 2015. And then 6 months later, or about 6 months later, I ended up opening the cafe in our hometown of Auburn, New York.
I love it. I love it. So for people who don't know a lot about matcha, I definitely want to explore a little bit of the benefits because there are so many. But before we do that, I just want to say thank you for sharing that story and sharing your background. And the reason why I tied it to, what is going on right now is I feel like this is a time in our life when we can use a lot of different practices to bolster our mental health, to bolster our emotional well-being, and just being able to have conversations about these topics is also powerful, because I feel like now more than ever, in a time where people are feeling more isolated, the idea of trying to have a conversation with someone about mental health or emotional well-being can be even more daunting, when in reality, like, now it's needed more than ever.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for you, because you have made your story and your journey such an integral part of the story of the business and how you relate to the world. And I do truly believe that it provides that light, it provides that inspiration, that beacon, that spokesperson for, being able to talk about it, being able to normalize. And then also offering something that is so richly and powerfully part of the process when it comes to attending to it, right? So let's talk about a little bit of the positive effects of matcha.
So matcha is different than other teas because you're actually consuming the entire tea leaf. So it's the whole green tea leaf that's ground up into a really fine powder. They have these giant stone mills that slowly rotate around, and the leaves get fed through the top, and then you have the powder. So when you're brewing this tea, it's actually just a suspension. It never really dissolves. So that's why you use like this little bamboo whisk typically to suspend the leaves. But you're consuming the whole tea leaf. Mm-hmm. So because of that, it's really high in antioxidants and amino acids. One amino acid in particular is called L-theanine, which works in conjunction with your alpha brainwaves. So it creates this calming effect. So even though the matcha naturally does have caffeine in it, and it actually contains a decent amount of caffeine for being a tea, since you're just consuming the whole leaf in. Mm-hmm. The L-theanine, it actually kind of balances things out, and it leaves you feeling calm but alert. And you're also getting some, fiber in the tea leaves that slow down the absorption, so you don't get that like caffeine spike. And you're also getting, the chlorophyll, because it's a green tea leaf, and it's shaded for the end of the harvest, so the nutrients can stay trapped into the tea leaf. So it is amazing stuff.
It really is. It's so fascinating. And I know, and I have shared with you that I found matcha on my journey of exploring anti-inflammatory kinds of foods and diet. So as part of my business, I help coach people through 30-day reset programs where we're taking out things that are acidic and allergenic and addictive, and totally just helping the body do what it does naturally by removing those things and letting it do its thing. And so during that time, I had to figure out how to not be reliant on coffee, right? It's such an acceptable part of our culture, yet for most of us, especially people like me, people like you, the type of caffeine that you're getting when you're having coffee can cause more of those anxiety symptoms.
Right.
And I had never even related those things. So as I was on that journey and I was driving through Auburn one day, you know, I saw your sign and I stopped in, and I've been in love ever since. In fact, you know, I made sure that as we moved into this period of quarantine, that I had an adequate frother in my kitchen. Old one broke. It was not, you know, it wasn't anything fancy. And so I had to really invest because I wanted to make sure that when I get my matcha, that I would be able to do it. And so now I have a few different flavors. Right now, I think I have birthday cake and cardamom in my kitchen. And it is a real experience. It is a real experience. Like, you can just enjoy this beverage in a way that feels like you're nourishing your soul. It's not just, you know, I'm going to go grab my cup of coffee from the coffee shop. So I'm grateful for having found you on that journey, but I think a lot of people don't realize all of those health benefits. So besides the ones you already talked about, what are some of the other things that people associate matcha with when it comes to the health benefits?
I've had a few of my customers that have been wanting to get off coffee for a variety of reasons, whether it's the, you know, acidity or it's like triggering some symptoms. So they found that, you know, matcha was able to help them kind of, you know, bridge that gap. You know, people have reported a lot of really amazing things to me. Again, I don't like to to health benefits.
Right.
Specifically.
Well, here's the thing. People can actually go to your Facebook page and read a lot of the testimonies and Instagram. So we'll make sure that we put those connections right in the notes for the podcast so that people can come find you, because I understand you don't want to make medical claims over on them.
Right. So like the L-theanine, all those things, those are facts. But yeah, the rest, I mean, but I have heard some pretty amazing stories that people said that it's really transformed how they feel, how they function. I know for me personally, I drink a pretty strong cup in the morning just because I love the flavor so much. And I just feel like it just is so uplifting and so cleansing. It is the best way to start my day. Like, I cannot imagine going a day without having a cup of matcha in the morning. It just makes me feel so peaceful, and my brain's just sharp. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I start my day the same way, and I absolutely love it. The other thing that I like to do too, because this was something that we did pre-quarantine, is I will grab my cup of matcha and I will get on Zoom and I will have it with somebody else, right? Just to connect with someone over that cup of matcha, which is great. And I typically will share the story of what I'm drinking and why, and it gets other people thinking. And ever since the beginning of quarantine, I think I have converted like 5 or 6 coffee drinkers into matcha drinkers. And I know one of them actually drove to your store to be able to get the matcha and bring it to me. Or actually, no, he ordered online because he bought me a gift as well. So it's great to share with a friend and have not only the experience of, you know, what you're having for yourself, but to share that with someone else. And right now, I know people can't come in and see the beautiful space that you've created right there in Auburn, inside the Zen Den right next door. It's such a gorgeous, calming space in and of itself. But when the time comes, people will be out and about again and be able to do that. But in the meantime, how can people get their hands on some matcha for home?
There's several ways. Some people just call the store. Some people order online if you don't live in the area. I ship all over the world at 3leaftea.com. Or there's also a 3Leaf Rewards app that you can download if you are local, and you can choose a curbside pickup and choose your time. So yeah, there's many different options.
I love it. So flexible, and the ability that you have had to pivot during this time is beautiful. So thank you for doing that for those of us who need our matcha.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, I know you need to go and you have to open the store, but I would love to know, you know, in your journey, Luciana, have you had any inspiration in particular or any mentors in particular that have really moved you on this journey that you could share with our viewers?
I don't have any specific mentors, but I am a really avid reader. So I just, consume a lot of knowledge. And even if I don't understand it right away, I try to like take notes on it so I can go back to it at a later time. So if anything, I would say the thing that helped me the most was just learning things online and reading a lot. I can't pinpoint like specifically because I feel like everybody has such different knowledge and you kind of need a little bit of everything to figure out what works best for you because you can't just, follow someone else's path. So it was a matter of just learning as much information as possible and seeing what resonates with me and applying it. So
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, thank you. So for everyone who's watching, thank you so much, Luciana, for joining us from Three Leaf in Auburn, New York. And we started this podcast talking about, her journey from going through her own mental health struggles and overcoming them by embracing this way of life and this journey into the world of entrepreneurship as a way to support that. So I do want to say that if anyone is watching and you're going through anything that you need support with, I am going to put a couple different support hotlines in the notes to the podcast. So please use them. There are so many people out there who want to support you, who want to know, and you matter. So thank you, Luciana, for being part of this today. And I hope everyone has a beautiful day.
thank you.